Welcome back, ladies and gents. It's Monday night. You know what time it is. You know who we are, and you know what we're here to do. We're here to talk shit, talk movies. So, let's get into it. What's happening, Steven?
What's going on, man? Nothing much.
What's the movies for this week? Obviously, if you can't read the fucking description,
Well,
the title of the video.
We don't want to shit talk our illiterate viewers, okay?
Yeah, we do.
Make up a small percentage, I'm sure. We've got Underwater and we've got Ford v Ferrari. Those are the two movies we're talking about tonight. So, we'll do Underwater first, as previously decided.
Yeah, I think we do. Underwater first. You got some specs.
I have got some specs. So it's
Good.
24 millimeters in diameter.
Okay.
Okay. It's a 2020 American science fiction horror film. It was directed by William Eubank. I looked him up, and he hasn't really directed anything of note. He did a movie for Angels and Airwaves, the band, which was never saw it. And then he made some other movie called Signal. Never saw that either. But that's who directed it. It stars Kristen Stewart and some other people, including T.J. Miller, which is the dude from Deadpool. He's usually pretty funny. It's got a budget of somewhere in the ballpark of between $50 to $80 million and a box office returns of $40.9 million. So it was a flop at the box office.
But it also was affected by the pandemic, correct?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, this movie was released in January in theaters, and I think that was before, we really knew what was going on. So it may have been affected a little bit, but I don't think it was to the extent of like the other films that we've talked about. I guess just go ahead and get into what the ratings are online, because I think we're going to disagree. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 47% approval rating, and the average rating is a 5.2 out of 10 for this movie, which...
Yeah, I definitely disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that's low.
Yeah.
That'd be the equivalent of a 2.5 on our scale. So
yeah,
I'm going to say that's low. I watched it the other day, and you had said last week that you were interested in seeing what I was going to think about Kristen Stewart's performance, like if she was the right,
the right person for that role.
Yeah, if she was properly cast. And I'm going to say yeah. I think she did a really good job, actually. And also, I was a fan of the attire decisions.
Yeah,
in the film. I thought that was great. Huge fan. But yeah, I thought she did a really good job. The movie gave me really strong Alien vibes, like a lot. Like it was basically, that's kind of how I would describe this movie. It's a contained thriller, right? Because everything happens for the most part in like really confined spaces.
Yep.
Apart from when they're walking underwater to get from point A to point B.
But even then, it's so dark that this whole movie feels claustrophobic.
It does.
And it's almost like it's hard to fucking breathe watching this movie a lot of the time. Because I caught myself like when they first got underwater and it's just her inside of that helmet and it's like,
right.
I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I'm about to have a fucking anxiety attack. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
It does. It feels very claustrophobic. And I also got that same sense from the first time when I watched Alien, right? It's very claustrophobic. It's a very contained space.
Yeah.
It's not as claustrophobic as, say, a movie like Phone Booth.
Yeah.
Right. I love that fucking movie simply because everything takes place in a fucking phone booth. And I love that idea of being able to shoot an entire film in a fucking, 5x5 area. I think that's a really cool idea. Or like Buried, the one with Ryan Reynolds where he's buried alive.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good film. But I like that idea. Now, is this a great movie? To me, it's not a great movie. But it's definitely a cut above your average January horror film. Right?
I wouldn't say it's horror. I would
Yeah.
say it definitely sci-fi, and it kind of falls in that sci-fi thriller. The aliens analogy is a really good one. Something like that, or like
Would you say like a
Species.
creature? It's like a creature feature,
Yeah, absolutely. But here's
right?
the thing, okay? A lot of these scary movie, monster movie type deals, right? They all have one really bad problem. And the problem is they show the fucking monster in too graphic of a detail, right? And this movie was very, very light on the actual monster. They
Yeah,
let a lot of by the time you saw the monster, you are already having a fucking panic attack because they're literally walking in the Mariana Trench.
yeah,
Like they're walking on the lowest point on the planet. And you can almost feel that pressure. So, like, this did as good a job as Creature from Black Lagoon. The reason that movie was so fucking creepy is because you never really saw the thing in up close detail. You never saw the up close on its eyes and it opening its mouth like Alien. Alien was a really good movie, but when it opens its mouth and it's got these up close shots of it, it's like you take away all the mystery. Like, what am I looking at? That's why paranormal shit creeps me out the most out of all the horror movies. It's because it's shit you can't see.
well, like, and one of my favorite examples is I'm not a huge fan of the movie, but Signs.
Mm-hmm.
When you first see the alien, right, and it's like that secondhand footage, and it literally is just like it walking across an alley or something,
Yeah.
and you get like this glimpse, and it's just enough to be terrified or like scared, but it's not enough to where later in the film where they actually show it in close, you're like, well, that clearly doesn't look that fucking, that doesn't look
Yeah.
that scary at all. But that moment of it, like an unknown thing walking across the screen in just enough time for you to be like, fuck,
Yeah.
like that. I enjoy that kind of thing.
And the beautiful thing about this one is anytime they do show these creatures, it's underwater so deep that light doesn't get to it. So the only light that you see these creatures in is the little light off of their fucking suit.
Yeah,
So
it's all artificial light.
it's shitty light anyways. So you don't even get a really good grasp of what the hell this thing even is.
Yeah.
So all in all, man, I think this was I don't think I can't think of anybody that would have been better typecast for an underwater emo sci-fi, doesn't require a whole lot of fucking acting chops.
Right. I mean,
To put in this role other than Kristen Stewart. Because, like, I told Brittany when we sat down and watched Twilight the first time, I was like, this chick is horrible.
yeah.
Like, she's horrible. She's cute, but she's not a good actress at all. Like, not even close. So, something like this where it didn't require a whole lot of acting and that kind of scary emo vibe was there the whole time anyways.
Yeah.
I think it was a pretty good pick for her.
Oh, agreed. I think it was a perfect role for her. It's just I wasn't like I said. I thought it was a good movie. I would just classify it as to me it didn't do anything to like break the fucking mold. I don't think there was anything in it that was like, fuck, I couldn't have lived without seeing this movie. I didn't get that vibe at all. I was entertained. It didn't really drag at all. Like
Yeah.
it starts out and it fucking bam, shit starts hitting the fan immediately.
Yeah, and
Then it kind of just continues throughout
it's
the whole
also
movie.
one of those movies where the guy who was in Deadpool that you were talking about, that in the movie he's got all the tattoos, and there was just enough comic relief
Yeah.
done by somebody who knows how to do comedy the right way, that when there needed to be a little bit of shit, this is too heavy, he would pop in with some kind of smart ass remark and it'd completely break everything up. And there was just enough and it was done properly.
Yeah.
So that being said, man, what
I liked the way that I liked and I disliked the way that it ended, not with the way that, the creatures are defeated or whatever. That's not my problem with the ending. But the ending then goes into like it kind of just goes into like screenshots of
Yeah,
newspaper clippings
newspaper
of the
clippings.
company like denying what's going on and all this stuff. And like to me, that would have been really interesting to be explored a little further than just fucking newspaper clips. That would have been like a really cool part of the movie. Like if they escape, right, and you think everything's all good, and then the movie goes for another 10 minutes and it's these fucking people being blackballed and shut up, essentially.
Yeah, but I don't.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think you could. I don't think you could properly cover something like that in 10 minutes.
Probably not, but that's why I would say don't even fucking throw it in.
Yeah, but if they went another 10 minutes on top of that, so you're looking at another 20 minutes into the movie, it kind of loses that. I'm going to be the salvation for the two that I just sent up. It kind of loses all the drama.
Agreed, but that's why I'm saying I don't think they should have thrown it in at all.
Well, I mean, you got.
I think it was literally just an attempt to be like, here's a cool idea, and then they did nothing with it. It's like, well, why even throw it in there? Like, don't even put it in there.
You also got to think if they hadn't put it in there, right? It would leave you with the question of, well, what the fuck? Did they make it up? Because at the end, you see the creatures chasing the little survival pods. So it's like, did they make it up? Number one. Number two, what the fuck happened after they got up there? Did they get saved, or what the fuck is going? Were they just floating in a ball and got bit by a goddamn whale? Or
yeah, but I'm more of the like I don't like being told everything.
Yeah,
I'm more of that guy. Like I'd rather like if it would have ended with her literally like blowing up everything, and then the screen goes to black, credits start fucking rolling. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
All I'm saying is I think it's a neat idea what they were going with. And when I saw those newspaper clippings, I was like, that's honestly probably a more interesting idea than like some of the movie that was actually the movie. So it was like, it made me think I'd almost rather have seen another 30 minutes of that or just don't fucking show that to me. Because now I have all these other questions and I'd rather see this. So I don't know. It was a little thing that I was like, I don't think they should have put that in, or if they were going to, it should have been explored a little bit better.
Yeah.
Instead of just like a fucking footnote at the end of the movie, like, hey, here's this super cool fucking thing. We're just gonna give you a couple newspaper clippings, just to whet your appetite. But other than that, I didn't have any necessarily like big gripes with the movie. Thought it was fine. Again, I didn't think it was great, but it was entertaining. I'd probably give it a 3.5.
Okay. 3.5. That's actually more than I thought, because I know what kind of I've kind of come to a realization that like of what type of films you actually prefer, and I was thinking you would give it a 2.5, 3, somewhere in there, because this isn't really necessarily up your alley. Me though, I'm looking at this from a little bit different standpoint, where I'm kind of the dumb movie guy. I like stupid comedy. I like, dick jokes are always a fucking winner. But when it comes to a more serious movie, stuff like that, I look at it from the horror movie side of me kicks in, the sci-fi movie side of me kicks in. And I think this movie was done fucking perfect, dude. It's certainly not a 5. I'll give you that. It's certainly not a 5. But the claustrophobia that you get from the environment that the movie is set in, the fact that you can, when I was sitting here watching this movie, I could feel the pressure of, being 6.5 miles, 7 miles underwater, and like having something go on, and like you're literally in the most vulnerable state you could possibly be in. You're in a fucking suit in the bottom of the goddamn ocean. And when I say the bottom, I ain't talking about go off the beach 100 miles and go down. Like, this is serious business down here. That had one of the best the best death scenes that I've ever seen in my life. When they get under that fucking water, they get out in the pressure, and the guy's got a crack in his fucking face mask and he just implodes inside the suit. That's fucking awesome, right? So I'm going to give this one a 4, and I'm going to say it is a very solid 4.
Okay.
I can't give it a 4.5. I wish we could do point, in quarters, because I give it a 4.25. I think this is something that, if you've watched everything else, I literally rented it on Apple TV. It was $5, and that was probably the second best $5 I spent this weekend. Like, most definitely.
Was what, Sonic Corn Dogs?
Oh no. Oh no. It was actually the next movie we're going to talk about.
Oh, nice.
So, let's see. You gave it a what? A 3.5?
Yeah. So combined of 7.5.
So we got a 7.5 on Underwater, which is a killer. That puts it up there with, let's see, Layer Cake, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Which, if I could go back and review Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it would get a higher score from me.
But I think you gave it a 4, a 4.5. I think I gave it a 3.
Oh, yeah, it may have been.
Yeah, so for the most part, that score is skewed by me not liking that movie too much.
Yeah.
But so, you know what movie I did like? Ford versus Ferrari.
Let's talk about it. All right.
Let's talk about that.
Background info. All right, Ford v Ferrari. It's 2019 sports drama film directed by James Mangold, who also directed Copland, Walk the Line, and Logan, which, if you haven't seen Logan, you need to watch Logan.
He did Walk the Line?
Yeah.
Like the Johnny Cash movie?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's got a runtime of 152 minutes, budget of $97.6 million, and the box office returns were $225.5 million. So a resounding success.
So that was a 2.5-hour movie?
Yes.
Did not feel like it.
No. So,
not at all.
I kind of took it away on the last film. Why don't you take it away with Ford v Ferrari? What did you think?
Okay, so Ford, and I call it Ford versus Ferrari just because that's what it is. Ford versus Ferrari was like, so it follows the shenanigans of Carroll Shelby and Ken Hill in the creation of the Ford GT40 at Le Mans when they won several years in a row. This happened to be the 2 years prior to them winning that I think it was either 4 or 5 years in a row that they won in the 60s. But Carroll Shelby, like, if you're not a car guy, even if you're not a car guy, you should know the name Carroll Shelby. He's literally one of the greatest muscle car designers the United States ever produced. It follows how the Ford Racing company kind of came to be and how he got into the struggles between the two, the guy, and I don't know his fucking name, but he played like the CFO, right? The second dude in charge. Fuck that guy, man. That guy was a fucking dick. The whole movie, he sucked. I fucking hated him by the time that movie was over. I so wanted to see Matt Damon go over there and punch him in his fucking throat.
Yeah, his little fucking pretentious.
Yeah. He's a cocksucker, man. So, Christian Bale, isn't that his name?
Yes.
So,
probably one of my favorite actors.
Probably one of the best performances he has ever turned in. Quite possibly Matt Damon's best work. I don't know what to say, man. This movie to me was fucking great. It had funny parts when it needed to be funny. When it needed to be funny, it was funny, and the funny parts were genuinely funny. When it needed to be dramatic, it was dramatic. And little known fact, my favorite car company on the planet of all time, hands down, without a doubt, is Ferrari. You give me a blank check, and I promise you there will be something with a yellow badge with a prancing horse sitting in my driveway. Like that's my supercar. Uh, but the Ford GT40 is undoubtedly the best American race car ever produced. Right? I don't think anything else has come close. Maybe these new Corvettes, but definitely in that time period, America wasn't making anything close. I don't know, man. This movie to me was fucking fantastic. It had plenty of drama, plenty of intrigue. The races felt dramatic as they should, right? It felt like you were in the pits. It felt like you were in the car.
Yeah.
Being an American, you hated the fucking guy driving the Ferrari. You hated him because you just wanted him to lose. You wanted America to win at all expenses. So
Yeah.
when you couple all of that together, to me, this was by far the best $5 I spent this weekend. Like, not even a question, hands down. What'd you think?
I'm a huge fan of this movie. I'm gonna say it was one of the best films of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely probably. I can't remember everything that came out in 2019. I think you could safely put this in the top 5 of 2019. Definitely the top 10. Christian Bale is, I think, one of the best actors like working today. If you couple this movie with the movie he did where he played the boxer, I think it was called The Fighter.
Yeah.
He plays like the everyman perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Like he plays like the everyday normal guy perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And he really nails that fucking role in this movie. And Matt Damon also did a phenomenal fucking job. But just Christian Bale, he fucking, like, every time the camera's on him, like you're involved in that character. Like you're fucking paying attention to what's going on. The story was really fucking good. And I personally, I'm not a fucking car guy and I'm not a fucking racing guy. Like I don't give a shit. Like that is not something, I mean, it's not like I hate it, but it's not something I seek out for entertainment, right? So the fact that they're able to make a movie that centers around something that I'm not necessarily that intrigued with and still find it entertaining, to me, that's a fucking win.
Oh, yeah, all day.
Right? Like that's hard to do. And I think that's probably what keeps some people from watching this movie is like, I don't give a fuck about, I don't even like NASCAR. Why do I want to watch some other foreign fucking racing movie, right? And I get that, but it's like the story surrounding that. You know, this movie isn't focused on racing. It's focused on the story around these characters. And it just so happens to be set in a racing scene, right? But that being said, the fucking scenes with the racing were fucking intense.
Yeah.
They're super fucking good. So I just there was nothing about this movie that I didn't like. Like there was nothing about this movie that I thought could be altered for the better. I think like as far as a fucking sports film, character driven, centered around, you know, this particular racing event or whatever, like, it was fucking perfect. So for me, I think I'm gonna give it a 5.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, this movie impressed the shit out of me, and I've watched it twice.
Well,
And I think so. I think it's a 5.
I've got to say, I was slightly disappointed with the ending. Right?
Okay.
I was slightly disappointed that, I mean, obviously this whole movie is based on historical events. So it's not like they can say, oh, well, he fucking lived and rode off into the sunset. They can't change the ending.
Yeah.
But the fact that this movie literally featured my favorite car company of all time, some of the epic racing history involved with that company, and then not only took it to the American side and brought to light the history and the provenance behind the GT40, which again is probably the finest American race car ever produced. Couple that with Christian Bale is literally the man. Matt Damon, I don't think he's done anything better than this. I think this is literally his. If this was his last movie he ever did, he ended on a really high note.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of 60s era Shelby Cobras in this movie, which is like just the most boss production car ever made. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna give this one a 5 as well.
There you go.
I'm gonna give it a 5 because I don't think anything about this movie was bad. I don't think they could have cut it out at all. The scene where he puts Henry Ford II in the GT40 and
yeah, that's hilarious.
He takes off just pedal to the floor, running through the gearbox, and literally makes him cry
like a child
because he didn't understand what kind of power this thing had and what kind of person it takes to drive a car like that. And he literally starts crying. And I didn't know that Carroll Shelby literally put his company on the line to put him in that car. Yeah. I didn't realize that. So all things considered, I think this movie is easily a 10. If you're on the fence about watching it or debating it, debate no longer. Go watch Ford versus Ferrari.
Absolutely.
I think it has put itself in at least in our ratings, which, in the grand scheme of things.
The ADV, that was actually something I was going to bring up. He said Matt Damon better in this than what he did with Jason Bourne in those movies. I'm going to say yes. I think that acting that he did in this was better than what he did in the Jason Bourne movies. But with that said, Jason Bourne Ultimatum is a really close second to the performance he gave in this. I think that movie, the performance he gave in Ultimatum was fucking phenomenal. He fully embodied that character. But it may just be that this is more story driven.
Yeah, but it also took him 4 movies to nail that character.
Yeah. Or
this one,
3.
Yeah, that was the 4th installment. Right?
Oh, Ultimatum was the 3rd.
Okay. So either way it goes.
Born Identity, Born Supremacy, and then the Ultimatum.
So either way it goes, this one, he killed it off the rip.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, this isn't, they're 2 different movies, right? The Bourne series is very action-packed and all that. And, if that's where you find entertainment, then obviously you're going to prefer that. But if you just look at, the character and the way it's portrayed, I think this is definitely his best performance.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, the story is so good. It's a great film. Highly recommend it.
So this movie, let's take the 10s that are on the list. You got Warrior. You've got 1917 and Ford versus Ferrari. Right? Do you think this movie stacks up to those 2 movies?
Absolutely. It's very similar actually
to Warrior.
Very similar to Warrior in certain regards, but they're different enough that I think both of them stand on their own. Right? So I'd say the 3 of those movies, I mean, we gave them 10s for a reason.
Yeah.
And we didn't speak at all about Ford v Ferrari until tonight.
Yeah.
We didn't speak any beforehand. I didn't ask you what you thought of it. You didn't ask me. We had no conversation about this beforehand because we're trying to keep it, as, I guess, raw. I don't know if that's the right word. That sounds pretentious as shit. But, we wanted to give it, the real opinion. And if we talk about it beforehand, yeah, if we talk about it beforehand, one of us may influence the other's opinion, right? So, but yeah, I mean, we both saw the same movie and both thought it was a 5 out of 5. So
Yep.
that should tell you it's worth seeing.
And
If
you know,
you want my
Brittany
honest
came in
recommendation.
and watched the last hour, hour and a half of the movie with me, and without knowing any of the story that they were busy building in the first hour of the movie, she still thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So for my wife, who's not a car person in the slightest, to come in and be like, man, that was a really good movie. So
Yeah.
I think it's deserving of a 10. If you haven't seen it, to me it's a must watch. Like, it is absolutely a must watch.
Even if you have to pay money for it, I say pay the money.
Yep. Apple TV's got it at $5.99.
Yep.
So
if anything, it's
$6.
definitely worth a rental. I'd say it's worth a buy.
Yeah.
So, but quickly, we need to talk about a couple things.
Yep.
So first, there is a link in chat. I'll actually repost it right now. To the new Two Guys in a Trailer Facebook group. So if you go over there and give that a whatever, like, follow, I don't know what you fucking do, join it. I don't know, do that. And then we'll be posting the movies in there, as well as the Instagram, which is the handle down below us. So there's multiple places where if you want to leave a suggestion for us or anything like that, there's multiple places to reach out to us. And, you know, we want there to be as much interaction as possible. It's not as interesting if we're just picking movies that we want to see and none of y'all want to see them or hear about them, right? So,
and this is an open Facebook group, so we're not posting anything about our other hobbies outside of watching movies and stuff. This is going to be completely movie centric. So if you have a friend or anything like that doesn't give a shit about our other hobbies, that is a movie enthusiast, by all means add them. This is for everybody.
Yeah, it's literally just a place to fucking, and it doesn't even have to be like, hey, we want you to review this movie. If you've seen a movie and you want to talk about it, fucking make a post and talk about the movie, and we can talk about it if we've already seen it, or if not, maybe it's something we can add to the queue that we watch and then talk about. Like, we just want to have a little bit more interaction with you guys. Yep. So that's in chat, and then also for next week's movies, since it is May the 4th, which obviously May the 4th be with you, Star Wars, I have convinced Mr. Andrew to watch the original trilogy, and we will be discussing episodes 4, 5, and 6 next week.
He wanted to do all 9.
I still want to do all 9.
But he's getting 3 because I am willing to shed my biases and go for the original 3, because at the end of the day, I do like George Lucas, and I am a fan of a lot of people in those movies. So
I'm fucking excited because I think once you watch them objectively as movies, I think you'll have to come to appreciate them a little bit more, or maybe at least have a newfound appreciation for them. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm a huge Star Wars fan until Disney raped that series to death. but other than that, I'm a huge fan. So that'll be next week. But yeah, I think that's everything.
That's just about it. We're gonna
also. Did y'all notice the new production values tonight, Mr. I think Mr. Patrick deserves a fucking round of applause. Got the fucking trailers playing beneath us and stuff. That's pretty fucking cool, man.
Yep. And we won't get copyright strikes because there's no volume.
Yeah, so fuck you, YouTube.
Whoa! Let's not go that far.
Now we're probably going to get a fucking strike.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, if there's no other business to take care of, I guess we're out of here.
All right.
So we will see you guys next week. Same movie time, same movie channel.
Later, guys.